안녕하세요. Riding on the Korean wave. Welcome to Friday's edition of the Culture Wave. I'm Kwon So-ah in Seoul. Explore with us Korea's culture from all aspects and stay up to date with K-entertainment, K-traditions, and K-sports today. And all of that together with our Friday co-host, Bella Kim. Hello, Bella. It's good to see you after this Seollal or Lunar New Year holidays.
Happy Friday, So-ah. And of course, happy Friday to all of you joining us today. I'm Bella, back again to co-host. And as always, we'll share some exciting K-entertainment news with you all.
And we're actually going to start off with K-enter news today. And
Yes.
it's going to be about a date that I have been personally waiting for a long time. And it has got to do with the third and final season of Squid Game.
That is correct. Finally, it's out. It seems like just yesterday that we, got excited about the Squid Game Season 2. Well, get ready for another new season. The third and final season of Squid Game will premiere on June 27th. That's only 6 months after Season 2, which was released back in December of last year. The reason for a relatively shorter term between Season 2 and 3 is because Season 3 was filmed along with Season 2. Netflix also revealed 5 still photos from the third season. The new season will take off from Ki-hoon's failed confrontation with the front man and the despair that he faces after the participants' rebellion against the game's hosts. Meanwhile, the second season of Squid Game is currently the most watched non-English Netflix series right now. And let's all mark our calendars and see how this Squid Game finally ends.
Can't wait for that. But please remind us a few more times
Yes.
before it comes out,
It's
Bella.
in June, yes.
And for our next story, we're going to talk about numerous records set by K-pop stars.
That is correct. First, we're going to start off with one of the members of BTS. Tteokguk set another new record on the US Billboard chart. According to the latest chart released by Billboard on January 28th, Tteokguk's solo single 7, released in July 2023, has been in the global chart for a total of 80 weeks. This made Tteokguk the longest-running K-pop solo artist on the chart. 7 rose 14 spots to number 101 on Billboard's Global 200 charts. And speaking of BTS members, another BTS member, Jimin, also performing very well on Billboard's main album and song charts. His second solo album, Muse, ranked 77th on the main album chart Billboard 200, and the title song Who ranked 25th on the main song chart Hot 100. And although the album was introduced back in July of last year, it seems to show a rise in the charts every week.
Wow. Well, it seems like BTS members always set new milestones.
I know.
And we're now going to move on to a female artist who also set not just one, but 2 new records.
That's correct. We're going to talk about Rosé. Blackpink Rosé achieved remarkable success with her hit single 아파트 featuring Bruno Mars. It climbed to 3rd place on the Billboard Hot 100, marking the highest spot ever reached by a female Korean K-pop artist. And notably, 아파트 has maintained a remarkable streak of 14 consecutive weeks on the chart. 아파트 also reached 1 billion streams on Spotify. Rosé celebrated the milestone on her SNS account, and Bruno Mars, of course, joined in and celebrated with her by, reposting Rosé's stories as well. And the single surpassed 1 billion streams on Spotify on January 26th, which was 100 days after its release. This made it to the fastest song by a K-pop act to hit 1 billion streams in Spotify's history, breaking the previous record held by BTS Tteokguk with his single 7.
Wow. Well, looking at those milestones made by BTS, I wonder how long Rosé can stay on the charts with 아파트. Well, thank you very much, Bella, for those K-enter news.
Yes, I'll stick around.
And now time to go over to our AI anchor, Ari, for other culture-related news.
Hello and welcome to your AI guide to the latest cultural updates from Korea. Here's our top story. The number of foreign tourists visiting Seoul exceeded 10 million last year, marking a strong recovery to pre-pandemic levels. According to the Seoul government, the city welcomed over 12 million international visitors from January to November last year, reaching 95% of the record high figure from 2019. This new milestone reflects Seoul's growing appeal as a global destination, further reinforced by its recognition as the best MICE. Or meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibition city for the 10th consecutive year in the 2024 Global Traveler Reader Tested Survey Awards. The capital city plans to further develop distinctive tourism experiences that can be enjoyed year-round. The number of visitors exploring traditional Korean temples has surged recently. According to the Tteokguk Order of Korean Buddhism, 63 temples across Korea housing state-designated cultural heritage have welcomed over 33 million visitors since May 2023, more than double the previous figures. This sharp increase is largely attributed to the government's introduction of admission fee subsidies for sites with designated cultural heritage in 2023. Venerable Jinwoo, the chief executive of the Tteokguk Order, reaffirmed the Buddhist community's commitment to providing a place of solace for those seeking peace of mind. The Tteokguk Mountain Snow Festival, the signature winter event of Korea's eastern Tteokguk City, will kick off next Friday, celebrating its 32nd year. The festival will offer a 10-day winter extravaganza across the Tteokguk National Park, Hwangji Lake, and the Hwangjicheon Restoration Stream. Highlights include the Starlight Festa, an international snow sculpture competition, and the Catch Teeny Thing sing-along show. The Tteokguk Cultural Foundation hopes visitors will get a chance to immerse themselves in Korea's unique winter ambience and create lasting memories. That's all from me. Keep it tuned to the Culture Wave.
Seollal, Korea's Lunar New Year, wouldn't be complete without tteokguk or rice cake soup. While many Koreans are still digesting a bowl or two they had over the extended Lunar New Year holiday, including myself, our news features reporter An Sung-jin introduces us to this warm, comforting dish that's more than just a meal.
Korean Lunar New Year, also known as Seollal, is one of the country's major holidays. Traditionally, Koreans would gather together, play folk games, and perform ancestral rites. And when Koreans think of Seollal, there's one thing that comes to their mind.
떡국이요. 왜냐면은 떡국 먹으면 나이도 먹을 수 있어요.
설날하면은 가족들이 다 같이 모여서 먹는 떡국이 생각납니다.
설날하면은 떡국이 제일 대표적인 음식이 아닐까요?
Then what is tteokguk that everyone is talking about? Tteokguk, which literally combines the word tteok, rice cake, and guk, soup, is a typical traditional dish eaten during the Lunar New Year holiday. The owners of this rice cake mill have been making their own tteok for more than 50 years. It's especially during these holidays that orders for garitteok, a long strip of rice cake dough, and the main ingredient in the tteokguk surges. First, rice, which has been soaked, is ground twice to soften it before it is steamed. After that, it's all mashed together to create long strips of garitteok. The long strip represents people's desires to have good fortune. Once the rice cake hardens for a day or two, it is then cut into oval pieces that resemble the shape of coins once used in Korea, the yeokjeon. The exact origin of eating tteokguk on Lunar New Year's Day is unclear, but it is believed to give good luck for the year. A traditional saying even goes that you haven't become a year older until you've had a bowl of tteokguk. Eating tteokguk during Seollal still remains a tradition, even if buying handmade tteok to make your own tteokguk is becoming less common.
For us, it's mostly regular customers that have been coming for a long time. Not a lot of new customers because it's not common to eat this much tteok. People now normally just buy small packages.
Tteokguk is not only a symbolic dish of Korea's Lunar New Year, but it also provides a glimpse into the hidden meanings behind the ingredients. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
Baseball, football, golf, winter sports. So we've got updates on all of these as it's time for the latest in the world of K-sports. And for that, of course, we're joined by our sportscaster, Jason Lee, in the studio. Jason, hello.
Hi,
Hello.
Jason.
Good afternoon.
I think it's perfect that we talk about sports right after the Lunar New Year holidays, because I think we all need some exercise and sports after having all these, greasy and great,
Get it out.
ton and all of that.
Yes.
While we're still trying to do our New Year's resolutions
right.
and staying motivated, sure, why not?
And to stay on a motivative note, we're going to talk about a change in baseball, or a change for one specific player. So we're now less than 2 weeks away from pitchers and catchers reporting into the spring training in the baseball, in the Major League Baseball, of course. And perhaps that was enough for the Tampa Bay Rays to fill their need and sign a contract with Kim Ha-sung.
Yes, that's right. This is Kim Ha-sung, who is, of course, different from Kim Hae-sung.
Right.
And he has now signed a 2-year contract with the Tampa Bay Rays. It's a $29 million contract, but Kim actually has an opt-out after the first year. So you could see this actually as a 1-year deal for $13 million with an option that he has to re-sign or stay with Tampa Bay for an extra $16 million next year. So it's a good deal for him in terms of having the freedom, or you could say the control.
And speaking of this freedom, free agents, how do you think, how likely will Kim Ha-sung, have the option of, going to become a FA, a free agent after this season?
That's a really good question, because one thing we have to remember is that he's still recovering from shoulder surgery. So he injured his shoulder at the end of last season. It prevented him from playing in the playoffs. And because of that, he's not actually expected to debut this season, probably until at least May. So we're talking about maybe 4 months at the most that he's going to be able to play. And, at that time, it's going to give him an opportunity to show teams that he is back to his level of Gold Glove play and bringing some pop to the bat as well. So if he can accomplish that in 4 months, then, it's possible that he could opt out, which would, like I said, make this $13 million for 4 months of play, $16 million for next year if he doesn't have the season that he wants to have. But let's say he hits 250, maybe hits about 15 home runs, perhaps steals about 20 bases, then I think that's the kind of thing that could earn him a bigger contract, in which case it would make more sense for him to opt out. And at the same time, he's in Tampa Bay, and they're not traditionally a team that signs free agents. They're not really big spenders. So I was actually really surprised that they opened up their pocketbooks to sign him on this deal. They might actually be hoping that he opts out because they haven't spent $13 million on a player since, I think, 1999 was the last time. So they really do not spend money. So they obviously really, really wanted Kim Ha-sung in order to pay that amount of money. But at the same time, this is not a team that's traditionally involved with signing a player like that.
Interesting. Well, let's see how it plays all off. And while MLB players are getting ready, we have soccer going on in Europe. So some more goals for Son Heung-min last week, as he scored a pair in the Europa League against a German side, TSG Hoffenheim, or should I say TSG Hoffenheim. And in their latest game, I think that was in Korea time this morning, Spurs defeated Sweden's Elfsborg. So no goal from Son in that game, but I heard it was a great game for him overall. Yeah,
he only played the first half in this morning's game, did not get on the scorecard, as you mentioned. They were actually scoreless at halftime. He was subbed out, and then they scored 3 goals. So they went on to a 3-0 victory. Son Heung-min actually played a really good first half, however, down the left wing. So I think a good game for him. And this was a really important win for Tottenham, because now after 8 games, they find themselves in 4th place in the Europa League. So they do advance to the round of 16 as a top 8 team in the league. So they're now in the knockout phase. And this is really important because Tottenham has been so bad in the Premier League this year. They're down to 15th place. Of course, relegation starts at 18. So this is a team that struggled in the EPL, but at the same time to have a little bit of success in the Europa Cup, advancing to the top 16. Hopefully in the knockout stages, they'll be able to do well. As for the 2 goals that you're talking about with Son Heung-min last week, once again in the Europa Cup, he scored 2 goals, the second and third goals in a 3-2 win. Both of these goals were left-footed shots. Not spectacular, amazing goals, but at the same time, solid goals. But again, showing his ambidextrous abilities to score with the left foot. And I think keeping him on the right pace. He's now scored double-digit goals 9 straight seasons, so it just shows how consistent he's been year in, year out.
Very excited to see more goals from Sonny and, of course, Tottenham getting more wins. And speaking of Tottenham, we have to talk about the new player that joined, Yang Min-hyuk, right, Korean player. He was on the substitute roster a few times, but he didn't get to play yet on the Premier League game. And recently, he's been loaned to a second-tier team, I heard. What's going on with him?
That's right. So Yang Min-hyuk, of course, he left Korea back in December. He joined Tottenham. He's been on the substitute list, as you mentioned, for the game a couple of times, but he hasn't gotten into an actual game yet. Their coach actually came out and said that they weren't expecting to use him anytime soon, meaning I think he's not necessarily in game shape just yet, and at the same time the level has just been a little bit above him, because we have to remember he's only 18 years old. That's really, really young. It's actually 6 years younger than the average age of an EPL player. So he is considerably younger than most of the players of his peers. So what's happened is he's now been loaned to the Queen's Park Rangers. And if you're thinking,
sounds very familiar.
Why does that name ring a bell? Of course, Park Ji-sung played for the Queen's Park Rangers back in 2012, 2013. That was just after a stint with Manchester United. So a lot of people are going to remember that team from that. They've been relegated, as you mentioned, down to the second tier. So Yang Min-hyuk is going to be on loan to them up until the end of the current season, which wraps up at the beginning of May. So I know a lot of people are going to be perhaps a little bit disappointed. Certainly Yang Min-hyuk fans go, oh no, like he got relegated or he's going down to a lower team. Why isn't he playing with Tottenham? Let's be realistic here. Once again, he's 18 years old. He hasn't played this level of competition before. And if anything, this is a positive move for him, because now he's going to get more playing time as opposed to just riding the bench. Or even if he were to get into games, maybe he plays like 10 or 15 minutes a couple of times a month. I mean, that's just not the amount of playing time that's going to help you develop to the player that he's going to eventually become. So I actually see this as a good positive move for him, where he's going to be playing with players at his level, and he's going to just get more playing time in a starring role for a team like this. So like I said, I think a lot of people might have been a little bit unrealistic in terms of expectations for him to jump in and get a lot of minutes. So I think the fact that he's getting a lot of minutes for a lower level team is really good.
And I heard this is better for him than going to another team is better for him than staying on Tottenham's like the second tier team.
Yeah, right? The practice squad.
The practice squad. Right?
Absolutely, because you're getting real important games. You're gelling and meshing with competitive players that are playing for a promotion perhaps. The team right now, they're in 13th place, but they're only 6 points out of 6th place. So if they can get to 6th place and he helps them to get there, this is a team that they could actually it's a long shot, but they could get promoted to the English Premier League once again. So if he's able to be a part of that, that would really show his ability and be a big story in England.
For sure.
And I also think that, many people have been waiting for those 2 players to be in the same team, but following the footsteps of Captain Park and Sonny. So I think for him, for Yang Min-hyuk himself, I think this is going to be a great path, a great career path.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, because Park Ji-sung also played with the Queen's Park Rangers, fans are going to be accustomed to a Korean player. Like, oh, another Korean player? All right. I mean, we remember Park Ji-sung and Yang Min-hyuk. Let's hope that he becomes another version of him.
Right, let's hope so. And now, Jason, let's swing over to golf. The 75th LPGA season has kicked off on Thursday. Now, with Kim Ah-rim taking the lead in the opening round, there are 5 Koreans in the field to watch out for. So what do you expect from this event and also the general, the 2025 LPGA season?
Yeah, as you mentioned, first and foremost, Kim Ah-rim shot a 7 under 65 in the first round. That has now given her a 4-stroke lead for the season opening tournament. This is a tournament of champions, so there's only 32 players playing in this tournament, and these are all players on the LPGA Tour that have won an event either last year or the year before. So she's leading a very, very strong and condensed field right now, and she's got a 4-stroke lead. One of those who are tied in second place is also a Korean, Ko Jin-young. I'm sure a lot of golf fans are familiar with her, a former #1 player in the world. So she's right there. And then another Korean player, Ryu Hae-an, she's just 1 stroke behind Ko. And she's a player that I look forward to this year. I think if we're talking about players in the LPGA, Ryu Hae-an was Rookie of the Year in 2023 as a 21-year-old. She won a tournament that year. She won a tournament last year, which is why she's in this tournament this year. And I think now being 23 with some confidence, being a top Korean player in the KLPGA prior, I think she's due for a solid breakout. And she's a player that I'm really going to look for this year. One other player that I'm going to keep an eye on is Yoon In-ah, who was not only the top player in the KLPGA last year, she was the money leader, the scoring champion as well. She's a rookie on the LPGA Tour this year, so she's not actually playing in this weekend's tournament. She will make her season debut next week, but I think she is going to be a player to watch for as well. Koreans only won 3 tournaments last year. That is a low going all the way back to 2011. So Koreans did not do well last year. I think things do look good for this season, though, certainly after the opening round. But we'll keep a watch to see what happens in the next couple of rounds, of course, in the Tournament of Champions.
For sure.
So let's hope that things can only get better compared to last year.
Yeah.
And I recently started golf, so it's very interesting to watch these LPGA tournaments and cheer on those Korean players, of course. And now we're going to move on to talking about Asian Winter Game. It's just a week away from opening at Harbin, China. And we talked about Chajunan last time you were here briefly. Is there any other players that we should keep an eye on out for?
Anytime we're talking about winter sports in Korea, obviously the first thing that you have to bring to mind is the short track speed skaters. Of course, Korea is going to be favored to win multiple gold medals here, of course. Korea sent 149 athletes, and there's a total of 64 medals that are going to be given out. And certainly you can expect the biggest haul for Korea to be in short track speed skating. And if we're talking about top Korean short track speed skaters, Choi Min-jung is going to be the name that comes to mind the most often. She's a triple gold medalist at the Olympics, so this should be old hat for her. The one other name that I do want to talk about, however, if you're thinking about a name that maybe no one's heard of just yet, but at the same time, in the future, someone that could come up as a household name, remember the name Lee Chae-un. So back in 2022, he was the youngest snowboarder to compete at their Winter Olympics in Beijing. And then in 2023, at the age of just 16, he won the halfpipe world championships, becoming the youngest ever world champion of that event. And of course, with snowboarding halfpipe, we're talking about an event that often produces the rock stars of the Winter Olympics. We're talking about Shaun White, one of the biggest names in winter sports. Of course, Chloe Kim, Koreans are going to remember her as a Korean American who was the top female half-pipe snowboarder. But these are people that are very highly commercialized. And certainly the fact that we've got a Korean up there right now that is the 2023 world champion at just 23 years of age. If he goes on to win the gold medal in Harbin, this could really catapult him really establish his name going into the Winter Olympics in 2026. But I think that is going to be a name. Lee Chae-un, remember that name, and remember, you heard it first here.
Oh, we'll make sure to keep an eye on Lee Chae-un. I just highlighted that here, so can't wait to root for the South Korean athletes at the Winter Games in Asia. And thank you very much, Jason, for those updates today.
Been a pleasure.
And thank you, Bella. We'll see you back next week. Have a great weekend.
Yes, see you back next week.
Thank you for spending the past half an hour with us on the Culture Wave. Have a great weekend and join us again next week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Korea time.
How to survive in Korea. Barbecue restaurants. Step 1. Taking care of your clothes. Put your jacket in the plastic bag. Seal it tight.